And welcome to another episode of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How are you doing, Tina?
I'm good, Rob. How are you?
Oh, super duper great. I thought we'd have a nice, fun conversation tonight, or maybe not. We're going to talk about something that I think is pretty prevalent in today's society, and that is body image issues.
Ooh, fun.
Yes. I believe that mostly in today's day and age, they're very prevalent. With it's the drop a few pounds mentality or get healthy mentality. And I just think that there's, body dysphoria issues. I mean, people have issues. And again, I think it's with everything. It's not just being heavy. It's nose, cheeks, lips, boobs, butt. How people just want to change everything. But I think that those issues stem from societal. I mean, obviously. And I know that, we were talking earlier that obviously you've had some issues in the past, and this was going to be a fun episode for you. So you get to smile, a little bit and say, damn you, Rob. It shouldn't have been on our list, but I think that, I mean, obviously, even with me over the last, however many weeks now, 12 or 13 weeks, it's like we all look in the mirror. I mean, if we'd be lying if we said we didn't. And at some point it'll get you. And lots of people have this issue. It's not just a small amount. I think it's bigger than most of us think.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a hairdresser, and as soon as somebody sits down in my chair, I know what type of issues they're having and with what body part, because my salon has tall, very long mirrors. So when a person sits down, they literally sit down and they're looking at themselves full length in a mirror with nothing on before I put on their cape. And so it's inevitable at least 2 or 3 times a day, depending on how many people come in. I was like, God, I look fat in this mirror. Hey, this really makes my dark circles under my eyes look worse. Or, oh my gosh, my ears stick out too much and you can see them through my hair. Oh, there's such a list. I can't even tell you. It's like everybody has something, guy, girl, it doesn't matter. When they sit down in front of a mirror, they're pointing out their insecurities in such a way that I look at them and I'm like, wow, I didn't even see that. Wow, I didn't see that either. Oh, okay. I get you on that, but it's way worse in your head than what you're actually dealing with. And body issues always been a thing. I mean, let's just face it. There's always something that we don't like or wish was different, or if we have curly hair, we want straight hair. If we had blue eyes, we want green eyes. There's a list. And so really nobody that I've come into contact with has been completely happy with themselves ever. Just doesn't happen.
Yeah. I think there's no outrunning it. We all have something. I have a lot of moles. That's one of the things that bothers me about me. If I could cut them all off, I'll do it. And at some point I probably will. It's just something that bothers me. So we all have something to a degree.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I grew up being the tallest of all the girls in my family on either side. I was always the biggest. I grew very quickly. So I was 5'10" in the 7th grade. 5'10", size 10 feet, 7th grade. It was great. So all of my friends, now that we're adults, they're like a head shorter than me. We're average height of my friends is probably about 5'5". And I think I'm being nice because there's maybe a little shorter, but I'm always a head taller than everybody else, basically. and I've always been a big girl. I played catcher for 7 years. So I had basically a catcher's butt and, thighs and legs. And it basically, for me, I always felt like I was under a microscope. Like there's no missing me walking into a room. There's no missing me. I guess my personality is such where nobody'd miss me anyway, because I'm kind of louder, more like I walk into your room. Hey, how's it going? What's happening? I've always been that person, but I wonder if I would have been that way had I been smaller or not been so focused on trying to get people to just see who I was before they saw like my size, which, it basically, it served me well, because being the tallest and the biggest, I was like, I didn't want anybody to say that my weight stopped me. Oh, well, you would have been so much better if you didn't weigh so much, or, oh, this would have happened if you didn't weigh so much. So I was the overachiever. I would find a way to make everything freaking happen for me, just so that nobody could use my weight as a scapegoat, basically.
Yeah. Not a crutch.
Yeah, it was not a crutch. So I did really well in school. I had a lot of friends. I'm very popular. Everything I do well. I made sure of that, though. I worked extra hard to do that so that, so that nobody saw, me from my size, but more of who I was as a person.
Right. I would say I probably did the same thing once I started talking.
Yeah.
I thought, there's always the self-deprecation of making fun of yourself to break the ice, and I do it to this day still, but I think that being able to talk big and have a big personality will make people overlook certain things.
Or see them even worse.
Maybe. No, you're right. No, that could be true. But in my own head, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm just this personality but I don't fake it. I do have a big personality now. And
right.
I will, I'm very talkative. Obviously, we're doing this.
You don't say.
Yeah. No. So I think that that is a big deal. And I think a lot of people who have body issues or some kind of dysphoria of what they think is wrong with them, either do one or the other. You're either in a shell and sit in a corner, or you have a big personality.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Because I think there's no middle ground.
Yeah. I know for a lot of women, especially, it's almost too much for them to deal with at times. Like they really let what they find imperfect about themselves rule how they think about themselves and how they are with other people and how they act with men. And it's amazing. I guess in a way I was fortunate that I wanted to be the overachiever that overlooked what was going on with my body at whatever time it was in my life, and just concentrated on what I could become or what I had going for me. I really needed to stay focused like that, because it could have really shot me down as a person and as a personality. And the thing about that is, like, for what? Like, what was I really upset with, or what was I really focusing on that was so important that nobody else, could have or had, that it was so bad on me. I think as women, we just make things so, I don't know, dramatic. Yeah, I'm saying it, dramatic. And go ahead.
I know, I think so. And I think it's funny, maybe we'll have Liv on another time kind of talking about the same thing. You go through so many changes between 9 and 19 or 9 and 20, like these big body changes, and you change so much. Mm-hmm. And those are those influential years where everything happens and then everyone looks at you and everyone judges, or everyone does this or that. And then what happens, those are your core years that are going to affect you going forward in life. I mean, I had a friend who who's short, thick girl. When I first met her years ago, was a very heavy girl. But I guess her mom just pounded that into her whole life. So no matter what, she just never thought she was skinny enough. And to this day, she's like always diets, always ketos, always does this. And this girl she'll never wear shorts. The only dress she'll wear is if it's long. She doesn't like her legs, but it's in her head now so much that I think till the end, it'll be like that. Like she got her chin done. She puts stuff in her lips. So I think it's made her so vain that like, I think go till she's, older. I think she'll end up getting surgeries or trying to stay young because, and probably diet until she's dead.
See, in a way, okay, the dieting thing, I've lost quite a bit of weight from being at my biggest. After my mom died, I was just eating to try to, I don't know, numb the pain, do something. And my weight blew up. Since then, I've lost like quite a bit of weight. I'm kind of embarrassed to say, but I've lost 118 pounds total from what I was at my biggest. And like still my face, my chin, I've always had like a fat chin. And one of these days I'm going to get it all sucked out.
Which is okay.
So I guess I still kind of have issues with my body or different parts of my body. I mean, but I could pick my whole body apart, especially after losing the weight, but the chin, I get that.
No, I mean, trust me, I get it. I've lost quite a bit of weight. I mean, like I said, I'm almost 40 pounds down. So like, I've definitely changed. Like my chin line is different, but I'll tell you that like, so this week, I started lifting weights because I could see myself, like my arms were getting a little wiggly.
Yeah.
Because I've lost weight. So now my body's changing. So I'm getting smaller. So I'm like, well, I better start lifting just to keep that going. And, and I think the other thing too, is I'm trying to shock my body, because I don't want to plateau. So I'm like, all right, well, if I start lifting weights, my body's going to go, oh shit. You're like, what are you doing? And probably change some more. But I think that like, look, I understand like we talked earlier, we're going to do a show on cosmetic surgery. And I think that, look, if it makes you happy, great. Like there's nothing wrong with getting cosmetic surgery. If you want to fix your chin, get it. But I do think that the things that drive you there are what we're talking about. Like, and again, like this person's mom did it to her, like was on her. And we had long conversations about this where her mom she was never like, she would pound it into her head that like, if you're like this, you're never going to get a man. You can't be heavy and get a man. You can't do this and get a man, like blah, blah, blah. And I think that like, those are what that does to you mentally never goes away.
Yeah.
And I think that those are kind of the things that we're talking about where, we do it enough to ourselves. You know what I mean? We don't need anyone else jumping on. And I'm sure that, it's a heavy thing that happens in marriage. I mean, I'm not like that, but I can see how husbands probably drive their wives to that as well.
It's funny. I say a lot, when I'm talking about my marriage, I'm like, life really doesn't sound like it was that bad. Why are we getting divorced? This is going to be another one of those moments. My husband never said anything about my weight. He was concerned about me being healthy. He wanted to make sure that I was active and I was eating right and I was doing all that. But he probably married me. No, he didn't marry me at my biggest, but he definitely married me bigger than not. And He always said that I was sexy. And as a matter of fact, it's funny because even dating now, guys are like, oh my God, you're really sexy. I'm like, no, I'm not. But here's the difference. The difference is I show up ready to be with whomever I'm with. My makeup's on, my hair is done. I'm happy. I'm confident, or as confident as I can be. And I always put my best foot forward, and I don't let all that little shit come to the table. Like, I don't let I don't talk about my imperfections. I just don't. Everybody knows we have them. We don't need to talk about them. Like, push it under the table. And what do I have to contribute? And over the years, by being that person and always being out there and just being the one that will say, I'll go first, I found that so many people have said, wow, you're really sexy, because I did that. It had nothing to do with my size. It had nothing to do with my color. It didn't have to do with my weight. It was strictly just my confidence and my ability to just show up and be vulnerable and go through that. And I tell women all the time, like, it's not your ear sticking out, that the problem is it's your bad attitude towards yourself. That's what shows through. That's the difference between a guy asking a girl out and not. It's you have to look and act and be good enough on your own without worrying about all your little imperfections. Because I got to tell you, after being a hairdresser for 30 years, everybody's got imperfections. There's not one person that doesn't. We just need to leave them alone and go to something that we could work on and be positive about, and start enjoying the life that we have in between, like striving to be perfect and being perfect.
So do you, since you see it a lot more than obviously a lot of people, do you think it's more of a younger thing or an older thing?
It's an everybody thing. Every freaking buddy.
So you don't think that there's a bigger group? Do you think it's more young or do you think it's pretty much across the board?
I would say if you want to make it one or the other, I would say it's more women than men. Mm-hmm. But I don't think age has a problem.
Okay.
No.
So it's generally more. I mean, I would probably agree with that based on societies. I mean,
but I
look
can tell you,
at Cosmo. I mean, the covers of Cosmo are generally women and generally way overly photoshopped.
Yeah. And see, like, okay, so being 50 now, I'm noticing that my friends don't care about things the way they used to care about things. Like, our cares are different, and our ability to not care and to own it and to just have fun and to not care about what the next person is doing, we've gotten there. But if there's like, I've noticed if there's a younger group of women that are there and they're acting a little wild or they're getting attention from boys, it shuts down the older generation. And I'm like, wait, what happened to you guys? We were all just having a good time and everybody got insecure. What was that? And I think that I think that everybody just goes through it. I don't think it's an age thing.
Okay. So definitely, I mean, obviously like I said, I would go along the thing that saying that it's probably more of a woman thing than it is men.
I'd say so.
I think at least on the surface, I definitely think guys go through that with weight for sure. Mostly when you see, a fit guy, you always go back to start judging yourself or something to that nature. But then when it comes to body dysphoria or your issues with certain things, like you said, we can all look at something and go, this is a problem. Like my nose goes a certain direction because I've been punched in the face way too many times. Wrestling, just, I have scars on my head. I got a lot of things that I could point out, but I don't look in the mirror every day and go, oh, my nose is so fucked up. Every blue moon, I'll look and go, oh yeah, it does kind of go to the right a little bit more and it does straight. But I think a lot of people have that as well. Like or there wouldn't be plastic surgeons. Like, I mean, you know how many nose jobs are probably done per year? You know,
Right.
tons. So, I mean, people will go and try to fix them. I think the thing is just how do we look at these issues and do our best to tell somebody, for one, you're not alone, obviously, but you know, how do you get through this without it wrecking you? Because like I said, this one friend of mine, she's damaged from her mother. Like pretty,
Well, I think that's where
damaged.
a lot of our women's damage comes from to begin with. Like, let's face it. If I always tell family, or I always tell people, family is what teaches you your lessons. They're not here on this earth to get you through anything. They're not here on this earth to make you happy, to build you up. Like, if you notice, most of the crap that you overcome starts from your family, and it was their crap too. Like, it's like a generational thing that is passed down from mother to daughter, son to father. I mean, I don't know, whatever, or father to son.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not, I think where all the insecurities come from are the person before us that's raising us, their insecurities. So I know for me, I always tell women, you're making a big deal about something I didn't even notice, but thank you for pointing that out. Now I know what bothers you too. Why would you set yourself up for anybody to know your weaknesses or your flaws that could really bother you? I never did that. I'd be damned if I was going to let somebody tell me that I was this or that. And, you know, obviously I knew from the get-go anyway, but I wasn't going to let them see me sweat. I wasn't going to let them treat me as if my issues were going to be something that they could use against me.
Right.
I was not going to let that happen.
But I think that's more personality than it is anything else. Like you took a stance at some point and was like, I'm not going to let this bother me, at least on the surface. And I think a lot of people hide it.
Yeah. I also think too, being a woman, I had a lot of really good men in my life, from my dad, my grandfather, my uncle, my brother, my ex, my like long, boyfriends that I've had, long-term, short-term, all of them. I was very fortunate that I had men in my life that saw something different in me than what I was seeing. And so they built me up in a way that kind of did give me what I needed to get through all the insecure crap. And they really made it obvious that being insecure wasn't an attractive quality to have. So I had to get over that shit quick in order to be somebody that they wanted to be around.
Yeah. Look, confidence is a very bizarre thing. I mean, yeah, I think you're lucky that they built your confidence.
Mm-hmm.
They built it probably several different ways. Like you said, like coming to you and saying, look, this isn't what a man's going to want.
Right.
That might be one way of doing it. Or obviously saying you're pretty, or this is, they're all building blocks,
yep.
Which we all need to hear. Trust me. I mean, even at 50, you want to hear that you're handsome.
Oh, absolutely.
If you'd say that that's not true, you are lying straight out.
I always say, tell me more. Like,
yeah,
more.
I mean,
like, just build it up. Just,
I mean,
me know.
don't get me wrong. Like, I want to hear it, but like, you don't have to fucking cake it on either. Like,
oh, I do smear that crap all over me. I want to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, I like hearing it, but like, I guess in my own head, it's like, I have that level where I'm like, okay, that's enough bullshit. Like, you don't have to keep bullshitting me. And even from the people that are probably telling me the truth,
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just like, for me, I just think that it's one of those things where you're like, look, that's enough. But, building character and building confidence in somebody at a young age, I think is always going to help them further in their life, where they're going to look at a body issue probably a little less detrimental to them.
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, during these times of like growth between 9 and 19, as a man and a woman, you are changing a lot.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Like massive amounts. Because we can throw acne into that. Acne is a huge thing. And my oldest stepdaughter had an issue. My boy has, I wouldn't say a big issue, but definitely, has had some issues with acne. And now that he's 19, he's starting to at least, I think, get over that hump and understands how to take care of his skin. But, those are things that can just be a stumbling block coming out of high school. And again, it'll wreck you. Mostly as a woman where, you're wearing makeup and you may be able to cover that, or
you don't ever really cover acne though. Let's just face it. You could try to like make it not look so bad and it's still going to look bad. It's acne.
Yeah. You're in a spot where it's like, you can only do so much. As a guy, there's no fixing it. If you have acne, you are pretty much screwed because we don't have any protection of makeup at all. And like you said, even though it's not a huge cover up for even a woman. So I think that as people in general, we look at our bodies daily. It's a mirror thing. It's looking at other people thing. How do you think we can curb this? And again, we're not doctors and we're not psychologists or whatever as people, because I have a lot of female friends and I do hear that a lot, that I'm so heavy, or this, or I wish this was different, or so how do we help them? I think that's the bigger thing. How do we help people?
I think that a big thing is just telling somebody that they look good. Like I noticed that I always tell my friends, "Ooh, nice. Your hair looks great today." Or, "Ooh, I really like the way you did your makeup." Or, "Oh, your nails look nice." Or, "Oh, you walked out looking sexy." Like, own it. Mm-hmm. I'm the one that says stupid shit like that all the time. And I do mean it, but I also look for things to positively say to my friends because listen, we're all in this world together and life is not easy. So anytime I could build up my friends or just get my time with them started on a positive note, I notice they do better. They also know that I'm not going to sit there and judge them negatively. I have no reason to do that. I'm always the one that go, yeah, own that, like work that sexy. I think that we need to start being more positive to each other. I also think that as a family, we should build up the characteristics in the child that is positive. My grandmother, God bless her, but she used to piss me off. I used to go with her all the time to like her old lady clubs that she was in, like the Native Daughters, and she was in a bunch of different ones. I can't even remember. But anyway, she would take me and introduce me to everybody. And she's like, "Oh, this is Tina, my big granddaughter." I'm like, "Really, Granny? That's what you got to come up with?" Or she's the white one because my family's darker complected. And here I am, this white girl walking in, with my grandmother. And let me just say, when I started the 7th grade, I took a picture with my grandparents, my grandmothers, and they were both at my armpit. So at the 7th grade, I was way taller than them. And, so I get why she would say she's the big one, but ultimately that's really not what you want to say. Like you could say, yeah, she's my tallest granddaughter. That may be a little bit better. Or how about saying this? How about this kid rocks? Did you know that she played softball for 7 years and she's like a mean catcher? Like she got really good. How about say, "Oh, she's a straight A honor student right now." Why do I have to be the big white one? Like
exactly. No. So
I think that family needs to stop with this whole, even like Hispanic families. If I have to hear another kid get called gordos or or gordas. I hate that because that means they're fat. Like, why would you say that to your kids? You're setting them up to be that for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't stand that.
Well, I think we all fall into that. Like, and again, just not saying it right. Like, I may say that about somebody as well. Like, I'm saying, oh, that's a big girl. But I mean height.
Yeah.
And I'm doing my best to get around that. Like, now I go old school. I'm like, that girl's a tall glass of water.
Yeah. I had a friend say to me that when he met me, he goes, "Ooh, I'm going to climb that tree." And I'm like, "Really? You thought of me as a fucking tree?" And then he's like, "Yeah, but I was turned on by your size." I'm like, "Yeah, but it doesn't sound like it's something."
Right. Yeah. There's got to be a
that,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like you could have just said you wanted to get in my panties. Like, that's better than saying I want to climb that tree.
Yeah. So it's a way that, people say things that needs to. And again, if we don't have anything to get over from our family, then what are we going to complain about? What are we going to learn? What lessons are we going to learn? So I think that there is a level of that where people just need to suck it up and be like, that's just them saying what they're saying. Like, let it go. And again, we need to let a lot of things go on this earth that don't serve us the way that it should. So there's that. But I also think that as family, I always tell the kids in my family, "You're so smart. I cannot wait to see what you become." Or, "Oh my goodness, like you're growing tall. It's going to be amazing to see what your body could do when you're done growing." Like, I don't leave it as a negative. My nephew is over 6 feet tall. He looks like a noodle. He's super skinny and super tall. And everybody goes, "Oh my gosh, you're so tall. You're so this, you're so that." And I always go, "Man, it's going to be great to see when you're done growing, like how high you could get on that kitchen shelf. Like, I want to see if you can get all the way to the back." Like, and he laughs at me because he's like, you don't ever, say things like they're a bad thing. You always try to say it like it's positive, but you still told me that I'm so tall, I'm going to be able to get to the top shelf. And I'm like, okay, I'll work on something else. And, he's a love. So I always tell him, "You are such a love. Like, you're just one of those kids that people are going to like." So I really do try. And I think it was because of the way that I was raised and how everything for me was like kind of under a microscope. So I really do try harder than most. But how do you fix it? I don't even know, because everybody's got insecurities. So everybody points out everybody else's. And I think that as a society, we don't need to state the obvious. Like,
right. I mean,
we need to stop.
Like being tall, mostly as a female, it has to be super hard. Like Liv, like we were talking to Liv's like my height. It's my friend's daughter. She's like 5'10" and a half. She's 18 years old. It's gotta be hard. So she, hopefully she doesn't get mad at me saying this. She, didn't get asked to a dance when she was in like ninth grade, I think. Ninth grade? I think so. Ninth grade. So we set up my boy to go to the dance with her. And I'll tell you, she was like 3 or 4 inches taller than him.
Nice.
And my boy just owned it. Just had no problem, went with it. But he's got crazy confidence. He gave 2 shits. Like, he didn't care.
Yeah.
And he went there and was like, had a little bow tie on. He totally went with it. So I think that there's, it's got to be hard because shorter guys generally probably stray away from tall girls. I mean, like you said, you're tall. In your life, what do you see?
I don't know. I think the short guys always came after me. The shorter, it seemed like the more they did. And I do believe that that's a genetically coded thing, because you want each generation to be better than the last. That's what keeps the species alive. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I do believe that shorter men will be more attracted to taller women because genetically it fits.
They want to make sure that their next generation's taller.
Yes.
Okay, I'll go with that. I understand where you're coming from.
That's always been my experience. For some reason, if there's a shorter guy in the room, he is always coming up to me and talking. Like, he's not going to pay attention to the shorter ones. But I've known over the years that shorter guys will get with shorter girls. But I have noticed there's an attraction there between a shorter guy and me. And it's a lot of women hate that. Like, I'd never date anybody shorter. And I always
hear that all the time.
I always say, if they're cute and they could keep my attention, I'm all for it. I don't care. Like, it's not my.
Yes. I think we all have what we're looking for.
Yeah.
But there's always outside the box. Like, you can't, personality is hopefully going to overrule everything.
Well, if you want it to last, it has to be, your looks change, size changes,
yes,
everything changes. Even if you weigh the same at 50 that you did when you were 17, your body shifts, everything changes, like weight goes to different places.
Gravity.
There's that too. So I think that it, as a society, if we're looking for the perfect picture, it's definitely a shorter lived relationship than somebody where you're with them because their personality grabs you and keeps your attention. I'm all for those type of relationships. I love when people keep my attention. I'm like, please entertain me. Like, I'm all for it.
I like to remind people that your ears and your nose never stop growing.
That's messed up.
Truth,
good thing those two things on me weren't big to begin with. So
you're great. You're gold.
I may still have something that's not too big on me.
Yeah. I mean, to me, we're running short on time here, getting soon. But to me, I think the bigger thing is, if you have children, you have to build them. Like, regardless of what you're doing, you can't be the one who puts the anchor in their pants and tries to drown them with, saying you're fat, saying you're this, saying you're that, saying your nose is bad. You're just ruining an adult.
Yeah. As
an adult, I think you have to look past societal norms. You can't go in like I do photography, and I will tell you, I can take a picture and manipulate it so much that you wouldn't even recognize yourself. And I mean everything. Stretch your neck, bring your cheeks in, separate your eyes if they're a little too close, make them further apart, bring your eyebrows down, like bring your waist in, lift your boobs. I can do all that to the point where
I need to have you take some pictures then.
But it's to the you get to the point where it's not you. You're recognizing something. And I think every time you go to the store, or at least if they still have those, like if you see Cosmo and you look at the cover, that is not a real human being.
Right.
And society, that's what we've done. We've made it hard for anybody in this world to think that normal, because the real normal, and I mean the real normal, I think the real normal, at least in this country, is like a size 12 for a girl. That's the normal. Like if we're working on the curve, I think it's a 12. I'm pretty positive. I could be wrong. I'd have to try to look
probably
something
even
up.
More since COVID, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because I've noticed everybody's waistline's gotten a little thicker these days.
Yeah, because we've all been inside, not having
nobody's
to do
been
shit.
doing anything. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I was also going to say that as adults, because we were talking about we got to build up kids, But as adults, get with people that build you up and make you a better person and that aren't worried about your size. I mean, size comes and it goes and it changes and it manipulates itself. There's so many things that are different. But I got to tell you, when I was a teenager, I had a friend that was short and round, and she had this crazy personality that just made people want to be around her. That girl got more booty thrown at her than any of the skinny chicks I've ever met in my life. And she's beautiful. She's absolutely beautiful. And her personality is amazing. And she kind of taught me that your personality needs to come out for people to like you. So for me, I wasn't letting my personality out. She was, man, this girl would own it. And everybody loved her because she was so big in her personality, but not overwhelming. Just she owned it, and she was beautiful, and she flirted, and she made people feel good. And that girl got some booty in her day. It really taught me that it wasn't about size. It was about who you are as a person.
That's pretty funny, though. You know,
and I really liked her attitude and how she did things. She was amazing.
You know, we're going to have to do a show on the number, you know, like the number of people you've been with at the taboo subject. We'll have to do something like that because you're talking about people getting booty. That's kind of funny, you know.
Well, I don't want to do the numbers game, but
no. I think we should just talk about it.
Okay.
No. Me and one of my other friends, we talked about that the other day, and she's like, "There's no reason for anyone to know your number," and it is true. But we're getting off subject. Any last thoughts on this since we're coming up at the end of this one?
My best advice is to just quit caring. If it's something that's not perfect on you, leave it alone. Leave it alone and work on something that you can make better. And personalities are a big thing. Change the way you look at things. Because if you change the way you think about yourself, you're going to change the way you think about the world, and life is just going to get better. So my advice is to go for it. No excuses, balls out, live your life as big as you can, no matter what size you are, and worry about all that stupid shit when you can't get off the couch anymore because you're old and sick and you have nothing better to do. Like, leave all your insecurities for then, because life is so short, and to stop you from being who you need to be, it's such a sad thing to do to yourself, like to put yourself in that situation to stop you because you're not perfect. Life happens when you're not perfect. So start living it.
All right. And on that, I think I will just say I agree with all that statement. You do only live once in this life, so you better enjoy it while you're here.
Yep.
If you do want to fix these things, that's okay as well. Like, fix them however you need. Be okay with yourself.
Yep.
Your inner self will always outshine your outer, no matter what you do.
And that is no joke. I see, starting to date again and everything, people that didn't know me more than like 5 minutes, and to see how they see me versus what I've always seen in myself. What a waste of time I've spent giving myself a hard time, because guess what? Nobody's really seeing that. Nobody's seeing what I'm insecure about.
Agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
On that, you want me to do the fun stuff?
You can.
Okay. Just so you know, you can find us on all kinds of these lovable podcast things like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Facebook, Google. You can find us everywhere. Don't Get This Twisted podcast. It's a fun show about opinions. And hey, we're doing pretty good these days. Lots and lots of states popping up. We got Chicago, Illinois. India is just rocking with downloads.
Thank you guys.
Somebody in that country really, really likes us. And I mean all over. I think we're up to like 9 different cities in India. It's amazing.
That is crazy.
It is. It's crazy. I wish that people would go to our Facebook page from India and please say something. It's so awesome. But on that, this is a show about opinions. So don't get it twisted. Keep listening. We're going to bring you more and more fun stuff here really soon. Lots more interviews, lots more fun topics. That's about all for today. Always nice seeing you, Tina.
Nice seeing you too, Rob.
And we'll see you guys in a week from today. See ya.